Welcome to the program. Thank you for tuning in this edition of Family Focus. My name is Mike Moran. I'll be your host today. And if you've watched the program before, unfortunately I'm the host every day. But we're here together. We're going to share 30 minutes with two great people. It is always a great pleasure for us to, on this program, and for me personally, to sort of share the expertise of our guests with you, the viewers at home. And today is another one of those occasions when we get to talk about not only wonderful people, but a great program that they help to run, and that is the Adult Family Care Program presented by, administered by Family Service Association. I almost said produced. No, we're producing this show. Sitting to my immediate right is Amy Worth. She is a nurse that's been with the program
since 2003.
2003.
Yes, many moons ago.
Yeah, and Jennifer Pina, who is a social worker. And Jen, how long have you been with the Adult Family Care Program?
I've been with the program for 3.5 years.
Okay.
So since 2015.
Nurses are, you know, what is it about nurses? They're worth their weight in gold, aren't they,
we hope.
Amy?
We hope.
How'd you get into the field?
I was actually recruited by Family Service doing a reference for another employee that had come over to Family Service. Really? And Colleen, who was in part of the Adult Family Care Program, called me on the phone and asked me some questions for a reference. And I gave the information, and then she said, "What are you doing next week?" And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because we'd like to interview you for a job position." And that's exacther what happened.
That's what happened in 2003?
2003.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history.
Had you worked as a nurse in a other medical office setting, hospital setting?
I've done a variety of things. I've worked in an industrial health nurse position. I've done hospital care. I've done nursing home care, doctor's office, surgeon's office, and the majority of my time was doing visiting nurse services.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jen, how about in your case? I love to talk to people that work in the social service field because at some point they're bitten by the bug. They want to help people. They want to do things for others. They want to save the world. When did you decide you wanted to save the world?
When I was in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a teacher who influenced me. I took a social work class with him, and ever since then it's been a straight course for me. I've never done anything else, and I just love the work that I do.
Great. That's great. Yeah, I mean, and
many moons ago.
There's a lot of different ways to earn a living, and I don't know, maybe because the field attracted me in a similar vein a long time, much longer than both of you.
Slightly. Not by much.
Trust me.
Well, I had thought I would leave the field for a little while, and I tried, but it just didn't feel right.
Really?
Didn't feel right at all. Yeah, I came right back.
You came running back. Yeah, that's the when it's in your system, it is. Let's talk about adult family care. I'm just going to give a little bit of sort of academic background. This is a program that began in 1978, I believe.
I think it was formulated in 1978, and it was actually launched into the community in 1984.
1984.
With Carolyn Curry.
Oh, our program, but I think it had its origins at Mass General Hospital, I think, long ago.
Long ago.
The best way to understand what adult family care is to talk about the concept. And originally, it was called adult foster care.
Correct.
And adult foster care is for children. Because you don't mind my saying, Amy, that the model has changed over time.
Drastically, yes.
And tell me when I'm wrong and fill in the blanks where they exist. That this was initially designed to be a program that served primarily frail elders.
Correct.
Who could no longer safely live at home on a permanent basis alone.
Correct.
And so, well, what was the thing that was done at that point prior to the inception of this program? You'd go into some form of institutional care, long-term care.
Yes.
And it was determined by people who know a lot about such things. There's some shades of gray there where we don't need to take a person who's having some challenges living alone.
Correct.
And suddenly put them into an institutional care setting. Let's find something else. You want to take it from there and talk about how the model of adult family care
Well,
came
the
to
model
be?
works is that we would be referred a person that was no longer safe to live at home. They did not need the institutional oversight
Right.
to meet their activities of daily living. And we would find a caregiver and do matching visits and match up a person after an assessment and making sure that their needs were viable and that this person actually fit the model that we needed. And then the caregivers and the patient, I call them patients because I'm a nurse, but the
Right.
members would be matched up, and then they would have an opportunity to, the client member would move in with the caregiver and become an extended family member of that person.
You've just answered one of the questions that I know the answer to, but I think folks at home might be thinking, oh, does your caregiver move into your home or apartment if you're the member or client?
Originally, no. Are there modifications and customizations to that situation now? Yes.
Right.
There is that possibility.
Well, and the other thing that we want to let people know is that while the emphasis in the early days of the program was on the frail elder population, lo and behold, it was discovered that, you know what, there are other folks who are adults
Correct.
who have other health challenges, perhaps developmental disabilities, other things that may make it similarly challenging for them to live at home alone, that they
Absolutely.
would need the oversight and support of a caregiver, individual or family.
Correct. It's
Okay.
tough to adult.
Yeah, right.
So.
I'm finding that out.
Yes. So that's what would happen is our population has expanded from frail elders. We still have a certain portion of our
Right,
population, but there were other folks that, like you were mentioning, that had overwhelming illnesses that couldn't manage it alone. Cognitive impairment, social skills impairments, some mental health challenges that made it difficult for them to navigate living in the community.
And yet, they didn't, as you stated earlier, need the institutional care of a nursing home.
Not by a long shot.
And back in the day of the early days of the program, there weren't the levels of options that exist now, even in institutional care, such as assisted living and
No.
other kinds of things.
No, those are all
Those are-
new concepts. Plus, it's a lot more cost effective. We could probably keep 5 people out in the community and supported and living a fulfilling life,
Right.
as opposed to maintaining one person in the nursing home.
Right, right.
So for the Commonwealth of Mass, it's more cost effective
Well,
financially.
You can't say enough about that because as I often am asked when people learn that I work in the social service field and they say, oh, we have all these costly programs and things like that, but how many of those programs are very preventative in that? If people have certain needs that can be addressed with Program A, they're not going to be, the Commonwealth and the taxpayer is not going to be spending infinitely more money by
Absolutely.
accessing Program B. Jenny, I mean, I can see where the nursing piece is essential to this program. What about the social work piece, Jen? Talk a little bit about what your role is in terms of administering this kind of a program.
Well, when I go into a home, what I'm responsible for is making sure that home is running according to the Mass Health regulations, who is funding.
Well, you've just answered a very important basic question. Mass Health is the funding source
Yes. Correct.
for this program.
Right.
It is.
There are some exceptions. In other words, it isn't just the Mass Health population, is it not? Are there those who have other forms of insurance care, or am I getting in the weeds too much?
The basic premise for the insurance coverage has been Mass Health
It has.
standing, and that's still the focus of the insurance.
Right.
But they've learned through their application of services that there are other folks that they can serve. They now have senior care options. Those folks have to have Medicare and Mass Health for those over 65. They're now starting programs for those under 65. For that, and there's various offshoots of the insurances. That's why we have the social workers who verify the insurance.
And I want to get more into what you started to talk about, Jen, and that is when you go into a home, you're evaluating. Take it from there and take us through the process from your perspective as a social worker?
Well, evaluating the appropriateness of the home, qualify the setting, it does have to meet certain Mass Health regulations, and we have a list that we go by in our assessment. And once a person is placed, then depending on what level they're assessed at, we visit once a month or every month. I'm sorry, once a month or once every other month.
I see.
The nurses and the social workers rotate our.
And do you do this as a team, or is it a
It
this
depends.
time social worker, this time nurse?
It depends on the level that they're at.
I see.
If they're a level 1, then 1 month a nurse will visit, the next month a social worker will visit. If they're a level 2, normally we visit together, just to eliminate the amount of time we're in the house every month. You're trying to run a home and a family, and you don't want that oversight in your house all the time.
Right.
So we try to combine our visits. Once in a while we have to visit separately.
So initially, it was a caregiver, who could be an individual or a family, matched with, and that matching process is fascinating, like, get together for lunch, a little home visit, maybe an overnight.
A little pajama party, the overnight.
Amy, I love having you on the show. It's been too long. We refer to her as Your Majesty. There's a reason for that. And then it was, does it click? I mean, human relationships, is it?
Absolutely.
And of course, when it does,
It's magical.
It is absolutely magical. I've
Yeah.
been around the adult family care families, and they are truly that. They are truly families. So initially, they were unrelated people.
In the beginning of the programs,
Right.
they had to be unrelated.
Right.
They had to be unrelated.
And slowly over time, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts got to understand not only I'll call it the social success of the program, but the financial success of the program, and said, we need to look at this and perhaps expand the criteria. And we're going to take a little break, and then we'll talk about that and get more into where your referrals come from, who typically, there might be some people that are watching this program right now and say, I think I know somebody who could use that service. So we're going to really try to connect those dots. So stand by, ladies. We're going to take a short time out for a break and give you a message about our agency that the three of us keep occupied with, and that is Family Service Association. And then we'll come back with part 2 of this edition of the program of Family Focus. We thank you for watching. Please stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Carol Nagel, President and CEO of Family Service Association. A lot has changed since the day when our agency began its long journey of providing services to our community. In the beginning, our mission was a simple one: to provide caring and helpful services designed to improve the lives of the individuals and families who live and work here. And while the programs we provide have changed over the years, and the problems facing the community have become more challenging, Family Service is still here 125 years later to answer the call. As we look to the future, we'll continue to work together with our many community partners and to find new and better ways to bring our services to those who need them. Whether it's providing a warm, welcoming learning environment for preschool children, offering professional counseling, or helping elders maintain their good health and independence, Family Service remains committed to the spirit of that very same mission of service that guided us when we took those few steps in 1888. Please visit our website and learn more about our agency, its programs, and our long history of service to the community.
Welcome back, and thank you for watching this edition of Family Focus, a program produced by Family Service Association. We want to express our gratitude to our hosts here on the campus of Bristol Community College and Fall River Community Media, where we produce this program, and it can be seen on 14 public access cable television stations throughout southeastern Massachusetts. And yes, from time to time, you are hearing the sound that makes it seem like an 18-wheeler truck is backing up in your driveway. It's not outside your home, it's outside our home. As we tape this program, there is some construction going on the campus of BCC, so your ears are not deceiving you. Let me reintroduce our guests. We're talking about the Adult Family Care Program And we have Amy Worth, who was a nurse with the program, and we have Jennifer Pina, who was a social worker with the program. So I want to get back to the subject of how it is that this program, Adult Family Care, does remarkable things. And again, just if you're just tuning in, we have individuals who are disabled adults or elders who qualify for Mass Health, who can no longer safely live alone, but who want to maintain community-based living, and they move in to live with a caregiver, host, or family, a caregiver family, or individual. And initially, as you had stated, Amy, they were unrelated people.
Yes.
Which is, you know, who typically at that point in the evolution of the program were the caregivers? Were they couples who were empty nesters whose children had moved out of the house and they say, we got a big house.
Predominantly, yes. They were retired or semi-retired, and they did have that empty nest syndrome. More women than men, but that's not unusual in the healthcare field to have more women involved as active caregivers. But that's not to exclude the guys that were out there.
I don't take it personally.
Good. They were an integral part because there was a good balance. And what we would do is we would get a referral from a doctor's office, a nursing home, or some of the other agencies, service agencies around. We'd go out and do an assessment, and then we would find what the member wanted, and then we would match them up with a list of caregivers that we had.
And it might be similar likes and dislikes.
Exactly.
Do you like pets? Well, yes. Well, there's pets in this home. Are you near a local house of worship that you want to be a part of? Yeah, well, that we can, you know,
was everything.
all those kinds of
All
things were
those
taken
things.
into consideration.
Right.
And by the way, one thing we haven't mentioned is that the caregivers are paid to provide
They
this
are
service.
paid, and it's a tax-free stipend that comes from Mass Health through and overseen by our agency,
Right.
and that's provided to the caregiver, in addition to the room and board that the client pays every month.
Right.
For them. So that's what helps maintains the person in the home, and it's a small token of appreciation from Mass Health of what the caregivers do. The caregivers don't necessarily do this for finances, but for basically affection for fellow human beings.
Sure, yeah, which we could use a little more of these
We
days.
could, yeah.
Jen, from a social work standpoint, what are the benefits of the program? What changes in the individual who needs this care when they know that their options may have been limited, or they made the tough decision to no longer live alone, despite, I'm sure, their valiant best efforts to continue to do so? If family and doctor and everyone got together and said, this is too much of a challenge for you, and they come around to realizing, maybe I belong in an adult family care home, what does that do for their outlook, for their well-being emotionally and mentally, as well as physically, which is obvious if they have some supports around them? I'm sure that they are many.
They are. The first quality I would say would be relief. They know where they're going.
Yeah.
They have security. They know there is someone out there looking out for them. Safety. It's very scary when you're alone, and you know you need the help, but we're all trained to be very independent and not ask for help. So when the decision is finally made and everybody has agreed and found something for you, there's relief. And with that relief comes more growth.
Sure.
More growth.
Sure.
Yeah, people.
They smile a lot.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
They're
Yeah, we
included.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we.
I have to tell you a story, and I think every time we featured adult family care on this program, I've told this story. And by the way, before I get to that, because I'm going to tell the story about a Taunton family, our program, while our agency is based in Fall River, the adult family care program administered by Family Service Association covers a lot of ground well beyond Greater Fall River.
It does.
Can you talk about that? Just drop a few names.
Oh, boy.
Because you guys are based
Yeah.
out of where?
We're out of
You
Hyannis.
float around.
I
We cover
float
a
around.
wide range.
I'm a moving target.
Yeah. But we have an office in Hyannis that serves
Hyannis,
the Cape and
yeah.
Plymouth County.
All the way down to P-Town.
Yeah, wow.
Yes.
And in the other direction, and up north of us?
I go
All
up
the way
as
to
far as
Attleboro.
Rockland. We used to go up as far as Hull when we had a family
Wow.
up there
On the South Shore?
on the South Shore, the greater South
Attleboro.
Shore. Attleboro, Seekonk, Swansea. all the way to the,
Brockton. Yeah.
So I wasn't
all in
prepared to
between.
ask you this question because I know you're not the manager of the program, the director of the program, but do you know how many members we have in place throughout the entire catchment area? Even an approximate number?
about 300.
About 300, okay. That's
think.
amazing. So here's my story about Taunton. I was asked by State Senator Mark Pacheco from the Taunton area, who still serves to this day. He said, you know, we fund this program as a line item in the budget. I'd love to see how it works. I'd love to visit one of the homes where you have an individual that's been placed in a caregiver home. This is years ago. And so I went to a home in Taunton. A young couple had bought a fixer-upper, and it was at one time a multifamily home. They had just done wonderful things with it. This was a couple in their 30s, and they said, you know, our family hasn't started to grow yet. We heard about adult family care. We'd like to have an individual come and live with us that is enrolled in this program. And he was an elderly gentleman who'd had a series of health problems. And when Senator Pacheco and I arrived at the home, he was in the kitchen doing dishes. And he turned around and Senator Pacheco introduced himself and I introduced myself. He said, you want to know about this program, right? He said, if it wasn't for this program, I don't think I'd be alive. And I said, Senator, there you go. Take that back to Boston and talk to your colleagues about it.
Yep.
And as we got together with the family and described what it meant for him, there were a lot of uncertainties in his life in terms of he didn't have a family, and
Yep.
there were other options in terms of care, and he wanted to stay living in the community, and this caregiver home was a perfect match for him. And it was like I can't tell you how many times people have talked about adult family care and they say, everybody wins.
Right.
It is
Everybody
a
wins.
win-win.
And you know, Mike, we talk about the impact that stress has on a person's health. And so, and I talked earlier about relief. When somebody is allowed to stay in the community that they've grown up in, maintain the contacts that they've always had, their family members, their friends, it just allows them to continue their life and enjoy it with just a little bit of support that they need,
Sure.
that they probably would not get in the nursing home
Right.
or any other facility.
Or if they were still living alone, maybe they wouldn't be preparing nutritious
Right.
meals.
No.
Maybe they would be skipping meals.
And that
Maybe
they
they would
would.
be forgetting to
Right.
take medication. Maybe they would be depressed.
Absolutely.
And so
of
living
those.
in a caregiver home. Now, I'm going to go quickly because there's so much ground to cover. The state now allows, in certain circumstances, and you'll tell me what the restrictions are, where related people can now be caregivers for
Yes.
the adult family care member.
All but spouses.
All but spouses. So a child can care for a parent if they
Correct.
otherwise qualify.
Yes.
And you go through the screening process and the assessment process.
Yes.
Yes.
And again, the caregivers are paid a stipend on a monthly
Yes.
basis for this.
They are.
But caregivers need support, and I know that caregiver support is sort of a growing field, because whether you work as a nurse, as a social worker, or if you're just a civilian, but you're providing care to another individual, the stresses can be enormous. And Family Service, through the Adult Family Care Program, is about to do something about
Yes.
that, and that is initiate caregiver support groups. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes. I'm very excited about that.
Tell me about that, Jen.
Well, we've known there's been a need for quite a while now. I've had caregivers who have asked for the program. And we have recently identified a place where we're going to hold the first support group, and that's going to be at the Multi-Service Center in Wareham. We selected the Wareham location simply because it's very central to all the other programs.
Okay.
It's about equal distance. And once we get that underway, hopefully then we'll be able to start a second group, maybe in Fall River.
And what we'll try to do is get information about that. Each of our programs at Family Service Association has a page on our website, and we can update that to include information about
Absolutely.
caregiver support, and we'll talk about it on our Facebook page and so on and so forth. You've been with this program for a long time.
I thought about that when I was asked to do this. I've been with the program for half of its shelf life.
Yeah.
I've been here for 17 years, and
Right.
our program's been on the go since 1984, so that's 30 years.
So here's
35 years.
here's my dumb question. Can you think of any success stories of families that have been? And I would bet
Yes.
that you would tell me that the lives of the caregivers have been enhanced and improved even as much as, in many cases, the members who participate as clients.
Again, as you said, it's a win-win-win. The caregivers are, well, one of our former co-workers, Bonnie, referred to our caregivers as low-flying angels,
Yeah.
and they are. This program wouldn't work without them.
Right.
I had another social worker, and I had a client that was living home alone, had a lot of medical problems, which complicated her safety and her well-being, ended up in a nursing home. That's who called us and gave us the referral. We were able to bring her out of the nursing home. She moved in and got supports in the community. She met a gentleman. They fell in love, and they got married. And she was a single woman in her 60s and never really had that opportunity as a younger person, but with the supports of her foster family and our staff, the wedding was lovely.
Oh, man.
And so she was able to transition into another
I
phase of her
wanted a
life.
success story. I didn't think I was going to get one that good.
Yeah, it's great.
That is great. I do
Yeah.
want to tell our viewers, if you go to our website, and if I can ask the crew in the booth to put our web address up on the screen, if you could do that, ladies. Michelle and Lucy, who are our low-flying angels. There's
Yes.
the address, www.frfsa.org. Go to that on your phone, your tablet, your desktop computer, and you're going to find a row of tabs at the top of the page, and there is one that says Agency Programs. There is just put your mouse over it if you're an old-fashioned mouse user as I am, and you're going to find a separate page for each of the services that we provide. Click on Adult Family Care, read about the program, and if you have any questions, you can call our agency, you can email us. All that information is on the website. This is an incredible program, and it started quite some time ago, as you heard at the beginning of our show. But because of people like Amy and Jennifer, it continues to thrive and really make incredible improvements in the lives of a lot of people. I can't thank you enough for coming back on the program. And we were set up in the other side of the studio
Yes.
years ago.
Many moons
We
ago.
didn't have the technology.
No.
We had
No.
nobody had cell phones.
Nobody had cell phones. We didn't have computers.
That's right.
Everything was done
That's right.
by pen and
That's right.
pencil.
You and I arrived in Fred Flintstone's car.
We
It
did.
was that kind of a
We
thing.
did. Yes.
Jennifer, thank you so much for doing this and putting up with Amy and I get together. It gets a
That's
little silly.
okay.
but-
Happy to be here.
All right, and we thank you
I'm
both.
learning.
And we thank you for all the wonderful work that you do with the
You're
Adult
welcome.
Family Care Program and for being willing to come on the program and spend some time with us.
Thank you,
Thank
Mike.
you.
Thank you. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen at home, we thank you for watching Family Focus. We hope to see you again very soon. Bye-bye.